The Phoenix Suns are making moves as we see a trade in the G League and an Exhibit 10 contract being signed. We're going to be breaking down, looking at these two moves made by this organization. Did James Jones and Matt Ishbia do the right thing and going out and getting these guys? We're going to be diving in and looking at all of this and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Velez. You guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support for CJ and I over on the channel, and we really do appreciate it. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything, make sure to keep hitting that like button to stay in the Suns algorithm. And without further ado, let's dive into the topic at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. We're going to be diving in and looking at two moves that the Suns made, and one of them was another G League trade. And we've been seeing a lot of G League trades this off season for this Suns squad. Obviously, as we know, they're starting off their inaugural season this year with the Valley Suns, and I am very excited to see this because now every team in the NBA has a G League respectively. This will allow for the Suns to be able to buy into some younger talent, kind of go into some of those younger guys and develop some players in their G League to be able to bring up and use them for their future. The Suns don't have to trade away these draft picks, kind of bank on guys being really good right now. They can wait and kind of develop some things. And that's what they similarly have been doing this offseason, making some minor moves here and there, trading some guys left and right. We just saw them go out and acquire Mami Diakhe, and now they made another trade as well. So let's dive in and look at this. Like I said, we're going to be looking at a tweet from Gerald Bourguet, who announces that the Valley Suns did make another trade with the Austin Spurs, sending the player rights of Justin Smith to Austin for the returning player rights of guard Kaleb Johnson. Now, Kaleb Johnson played at the University of Georgetown in the Big East, and while he was at in Austin Spurs, was also a pretty sound player as well. If you look at his stats, he averaged some decent points, averaged some pretty decent shooting as well. And I believe that Kaleb Johnson will be just a guy for this G League team. Now, with this G League squad, they did have that, draft a couple months ago where they were able to, select some players, and none of those players were guaranteed to be on this roster. Some of them could have went overseas, some of them could have gotten picked up by other teams. So therefore, the Suns had really no guarantees on players. They were just kind of taking the best available. And I like that kind of mindset, but it also allows them to kind of make trades and kind of figure out who they really want on this G League truly and southwestly. And Kaleb Johnson is one of those guys from the Austin Spurs that they felt like could be a guard that could work for their G League team. It could be one that works for their future as well. Similarly with Diakhe going out and getting, a big man center, someone who had been in the NBA last season and, at the end of some contracts and tried to trade it around and bounced around from Brooklyn and New York and Memphis in all those trades involving Mikal Bridges and Zaire Williams. He then finally lands in Phoenix. So similarly, I think the Suns are going in that direction, looking at Kaleb Johnson as well, just trying to find some guys that they can actually use for their G League and actually believe in doing some scouting, finding out who could be some solid players. And I believe Johnson could be one of those for this Valley Suns team. And like I've been saying, Valley Suns, I'm very excited to see how they look in their inaugural season because this is going to be the kind of tester for Suns fans to see how well a G League team can produce and how they can kind of develop some young talent for the future. And maybe Johnson can be one of those guys for this Suns team. I don't really know much about him. I'm not a diver into G League. I'm not watching Austin Spurs games, but I hope that we all recognize that this is just a G League move and someone that could be solid for the G League in the future. Suns making some decent moves. Next, let's talk about the next deal where they bring in another Exhibit 10-day contract. This one revolves around a player in Jaden Shackelford. Now, this was reported by Michael Scotto here, where we can see that the Suns have offered an Exhibit 10-day contract to Jaden Shackelford, who played on the OKC Blue Dream, I believe it is. Oh, just the OKC Blue G League team, where he averaged 14 points per game. It was on the G League Championship OKC Blue this season. Now, his stats are a little bit better than Kaleb Johnson's. Like I said, he averaged some more points, had some better shooting percentages. That's why he's obviously getting an Exhibit 10-day contract. And this ultimately is going to be a tester for Jaden Shackelford with the Suns here. Now, like we've mentioned and kind of said before, the Suns do have an open roster spot. So with that open roster spot, they can bring in some of these Exhibit 10 guys, evaluate them on trading camp deals, and kind of get a kind of headspace of what direction they want to go in. Do they want to leave that last roster spot open with the possibility of a trade or a buyout throughout the season? Or do they want to promote one of their two-way guys because they see them in training camp doing very, very solid and would rather have them on the roster and promote one of these Exhibit 10 guys to another two-way spot? Or would they rather just waive a bunch of these Exhibit 10 guys, bring them to their G League, give them that extra bonus, and then also just have some solid squad players for their G League? And ultimately, I think that's the direction we're going to see with Shackelford here. Like you said, like we kind of saw, he already has played in the OKC G League and have been a pretty solid player. So I think that's similarly what he's going to bring for this Suns team. Coming in, being another G League addition, and then if he develops and plays really good with this G League team, similar to how he played with the OKC Blue, he could potentially make himself earn a two-way spot or possibly a roster spot in the future with this Suns team. Like I said, the Suns kind of buying on some of these young guys and kind of going in this direction is something that I really, really like to see with this Suns squad. Something that we haven't really seen with them in the past due to the fact that they haven't had this G League. They haven't been able to kind of go into this youth movement and kind of develop some of these guys. And they have, in the past, but it just hasn't really worked out. They've just had an abundance of guys that just didn't really mesh together, young guys that just weren't really clicking, not really finding those stars. And now they have found those guys, and now we kind of have to develop some of these young pieces to keep those stars entertained and want to stay and build these roles alongside these star players to push for these championships. And we're already seeing it with the rookies this season. They let go of Nazir Little, stretched and waived him, waived DJ Liddell for more growth for Oso Guardado and Ryan Dunn. And ultimately, they've shown this with a bunch of G League moves as well, not really staying stagnant with the G League team they drafted and trying to find young guys that they can kind of pry away and like their skill sets to bring over for their G League to help bolster their G League and make the Valley Suns a top tier contender as well. Because not only does Matt Ishbia want this regular Phoenix Suns team to be a top team, but he wants that G League team as well to be a top tier contender so they can have good young youth developmental guys that can always come up in their system, always be available for two-way contracts, always be available to fill out the roster and be able to bounce back and step up for this Suns team and to build this nice hungry culture of winning basketball in Phoenix. And I think it can be done in Matt Ishbia's tenure here. It's already looking like a great start here, bringing in Budenholzer, and I'm really liking the moves that they're making, even at the low end with these G League kind of transactions. Ultimately, I do think Shackelford, like I said, will be waived eventually by this squad, end up on the G League for the Valley Suns, and will have himself a pretty solidified role on that roster as he already averaged 14 points on the championship winning team in OKC Blue. He definitely is going to have a big role with this Valley Suns squad. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. How do you guys like these moves that the Phoenix Suns G League has kind of made the Valley Suns as we kind of dive into it all? I really do appreciate all your guys' support over on the channel here. CJ and I, again, once again, really do appreciate it. You guys have been absolutely killing it, leaving likes, hitting subscribe button, dropping comments down. So like I said, leave your thoughts down below. Let us know how you feel down below in the comment section. And once again, I'm Bruce Veliz. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns.